Hello and Happy New Year from me, Khaled Khawairi, and the news team at Levant TV. 2014 did not end on a high for Palestine, and is certainly not so good for Palestinian Authority leader Mahmoud Abbas. Peter Beaumont Jerusalem correspondent at The Guardian writes an article titled "US and Israeli Intervention Led UN to Reject Palestinian Resolution." The UN Security Council rejected a Palestinian resolution demanding an end to Israeli occupation within 3 years after Israel and the US crucially intervened to persuade Nigeria to abstain from voting. Palestinian officials and other observers had thought Nigeria would back a Jordanian-tabled resolution, thereby delivering a 9-vote majority on the Council, which would have required a US veto to be blocked. Washington had been working strenuously to avoid having to use its veto. Until shortly before the vote on Tuesday, Council diplomats had expected the resolution to get 9 yes votes, but Nigeria abstained, with its ambassador Joy Ogwu echoing the US position in saying that the path to peace lay in a negotiated solution. One Palestinian source involved in the negotiations told The Guardian even half an hour before the vote, Nigeria indicated it was committed to voting for the resolution. "We knew that Rwanda, South Korea and Australia would not back it, but we believed Nigeria was on board." The US, Israel's closest ally, had made it clear that it opposed the set timetable in the draft resolution, insisting instead on a negotiated peace agreement between the Israelis and Palestinians. The US ambassador to the UN, Samantha Power, said the decision to bring the draft resolution to a vote as a staged confrontation that will not bring the parties closer, and of the resolution itself, she said it was deeply unbalanced and didn't take into account Israel's security concerns. Now moving to Egypt, Inas Hamid writes a piece and she titles this "As Gulf Aid Dries Up, Egypt Struggles." Hamid starts depicting the administration of President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, which is trying to unravel the economic crisis that has gripped Egypt since the overthrow of former President Mohamed Morsi in June 2013. But she says complicating matters, aid from the Gulf states has become less reliable than many had hoped. Saudis offered Egypt $5 billion divided between a bank deposit of $2 billion US, large quantities of oil products worth $2 billion and $1 billion in cash. Abu Dhabi made a $1 billion US grant, a deposit worth $2 billion and $4.9 billion to start a service project. And Kuwait came in third with aid amounting to $4 billion. The writer questions whether the Gulf states effectively stopped aid to Egypt. Omar al-Shaniti, the executive director of the Multiplus investment group, told Al-Monitor the financial support from the Gulf for Egypt did not stop, but aid decreased substantially. This aid was primarily for political reasons. Back then, the Gulf states, except Qatar, provided aid for Egypt to get rid of the regime of the Muslim Brotherhood. The writer then concludes that there are some steps the Egyptian government should take to alleviate the situation and find other sources of money. Economists have differing opinions about the impact of the decline in oil prices on the Gulf support of Egypt's projects. According to some, the oil crisis will adversely affect the Gulf states and thus the investment projects they contribute to, and others argue it is too soon to talk about the repercussions of the oil crisis on Egypt's economy. In his opinion, the Gulf states' capital surpluses are too large to be affected by the decline in oil prices. The Egyptian government ought to renege on launching the giant national projects that would dry up liquidity from the market but generate long-term returns. This would be the essential step on the road out of the economic crisis, weighing heavily on the state. That was according to Omar al-Shaniti, the executive director of the Multiplus investment group, who also urged officials to expedite the agreement with the International Monetary Fund to obtain the financing in hard currency to defend the Egyptian pound and gain international confidence. The government also ought to realize that tourism and foreign investments depend on security, stability, and all factors to consider when revising the local management strategy. That was it for today's brief update. For more updates, please visit us on levant.tv. You could also subscribe to Middle East in Depth on iTunes. Thanks for watching and bye for now.